Good evening, crafting friends. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. The end of another week. We're getting close to the end of July. I can't believe how fast summer is going. Is it going really fast for you as well? Tell me in the chat if it is. As a teacher, I always think of the summer as, June is that Friday night, July is Saturday, and then August is Sunday, and then we're back to school, and that's coming up fast. So the summer is just flying by. Well, first I'd like to start by sharing with you some things that I have been working on this week, and then we'll get right into tonight's card. I attended a little online creativity event where triangles and diagonals were the theme. And these are some of the cards that we made. We used our own materials, so everyone's card's a little bit different. And this was my first one with the diagonal here. We have two right triangles here that make a pocket card. Excuse me, let me get this out. So that's what this pocket card looks like. Now, if you can see the triangle right here, but this is a fun fold, so when I open it up, it looks like this. This is using the new, let me just look at my shelf here. It's using the new spooky Halloween stamp set that's in an online exclusive. They have a sheet of these little characters, 2 sheets actually, and I used them here in this card where this one opens this way, a little bit different. Let me just pick him back up. He holds it all closed. And then again I use some more, and this one opens to the side and then opens up. And I haven't finished these, but these were some additional little fun folds using triangles that we made. This is a larger one, and they open like that. And then this is a joy card that opens like this and like this. I've made these before. I just need to decorate those and finish them up. So that's what we made at that creativity event. Just move those out of the way. And then my friend Leslie and I got together and we just did some things using the Turtly Awesome Designer Series paper. So this was one of the cards we made. And this is another. And then a barbecue turtle. And then this is how I've felt the entire month of July. It's okay to take it slow. And then we made some cards with the cheers and sips. So that was the first one. And this was the second one. It's your day. I put some oranges on the inside, some orange slices rather. And then this one, we just used the arch set and created that one. So it was fun getting together. We've been trying to get together every single week to do some stamping. So that's my show and tell. The votes were in yesterday. I counted them up, and overwhelmingly everyone wanted to see the Coneflower Celebrations set used in a fun fold. So that's what we're using tonight. This is a bundle. It doesn't come in a suite. There's no designer series paper with it. It is a photopolymer stamp set. There are 13 stamps to the set, and it also has a set of dies. And these are the dies. It comes with 10 dies, the stem of the plant, some leaf pieces, the outline to the leaves. This, I'm going to show you what it looks like. This part, a butterfly, the top of the flower, and just a little border there of circles. So this has been, I've been playing with this. If you follow my page, you have seen some of the cards I've made with it this week. So I'm going to be using the Floral Charm, Designer Series paper. The colors that go with it are Berry Burst, Blackberry Bliss, Mossy Meadow, Night of Navy, Pretty Peacock, and Timid Tiger. And let me tell you, it is a beautiful set of paper. It is in our online exclusives, so that's where you'll find it. So we have this design. The background paper is beautiful too. Pretty Peacock. Some Berry Burst. This is probably my favorite sheet. And it has the Timid Tiger on the back. This is the sheet we're using tonight. And it has the Mossy Meadow on the back. And we'll be using the back too. Some more beautiful flowers. And look at that, Night of Navy on the back. I love that. Some of these I love the back as much as I do the front. And then here we have some larger flowers. And we've got a Berry Burst background. So the paper is very pretty. All right, so let's see the card that we're going to make today. So we're going to be making a double Z fold. This is what the front of the card looks like. I'm going to show you how we make this piece that's kind of popping up and has a little bit of a secret message under it. But when this opens up, it's going to look like this. When it stands, it's going to look like this. And then on the back, I have another place, so if you want it to write a message. Don't know if you can tell, but I have, now this is the hardest part because of the coneflowers, to put it back together. Don't know if you can see that I've put Wink of Stella on the flowers, and I've added a butterfly trinket to the front of the card. So this is the card we're going to be making. So let's get the card together and do all of the scoring, and then we'll put the coneflowers together. All right, so here's what you need. So to start, we are going to be cutting this down so it's not an oversized card. You need a piece of 11 inches by 7.5 inches piece of cardstock, and I'm using the Timid Tiger. You are going to need some basic white, so you need a piece that measures 3 1/4 by 3 3/4. You're going to need another piece of basic white that measures 3 1/2 by 5 inches. I have 2 pieces of Designer Series paper here. We're going to be cutting these down. I could have cut this one, the Mossy Meadow one, down, but this one I wanted to cut separate just before so that my flowers can line up the way I want it to be. So we're going to be cutting these down. Right now this is 3 by 5 1/4 for both of them. We're going to cut them right in half. Then you're going to need 2 pieces of 2 1/8 by 3/4 of an inch. And then you're going to need 4 pieces of 1 1/2 by 3/4 of an inch. And that looks like it. You're also going to need some Early Espresso cardstock scraps to cut out the centers of the flower, and you're going to need some Timid Tiger to cut out those 4 images. So I'll show you that in a few minutes. Okay, so let's just move this out of the way. And I'm going to start with scoring this piece of cardstock. And I think I'm going to use my scoreboard for this. All right, let me get my scoring tool. Okay, so we are going to be scoring. Let me just get to that spot on my notes. It's on the other side of the paper. Okay, so on the long side, we're going to be scoring, at 1 3/4 inches, at 3.5 inches, and then that's it, 1 3/4 and 3.5. Then we're going to rotate this 180 degrees, and we're going to score again at 1 3/4 and 3.5. Again, I will be putting all of this in the description at the end of the video, and it will also, well, actually on Facebook it will be in the comments, on YouTube it will be in the description. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some cutting on several things. So I'm going to cut this to 1.5, both sides. I want this, when I put this up on the front of my card, I want it to be able to have the flowers match up in how I've cut them. So I'll just set that aside. This one, it doesn't really matter. This is the back side of the piece I just cut. So I'll set those aside. Now what I'm going to do for this is I am going to cut off 2 1-inch strips. I'm going to need this for my Z-fold, and by cutting off 2 1-inch strips when it's already 7.5 inches, that brings this down to a 5.5-inch card, which is what we want so that it will fit in the envelope. When folded, it will be perfect size for an envelope. I'm going to take these, let me just grab my snips, and on each of them I am going to go in and cut the end off. I'm going to cut right at the second score line. So I'm going to do that on both of them. All right. So those 2 pieces can just be put aside. And then what I'm going to be doing is folding these and burnishing the edge. Okay, and then for this, I'm going to be folding in and then out. And I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so there we have that. And that is the base of our card, and that's the base of the Z-fold. All right, now let's put this together. So we're going to have one of these. Oops, let's go the right way. It's going to go like this across the top. And then this one is going to go like this across the bottom. And I'm just going to use my bone folder because this is on the backward piece and it just has that little line from cutting it. So I'm going to use, so what I'm going to do is put adhesive along this end. And then I'm going to put adhesive along the top here. There we go. And so this piece is going to go right up to the score line. And then this is going to go all the way to the edge. So when it opens, it's going to open just like that. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing over here. This piece is going to go here, while this piece is going to go right here. So I can straighten that out, and I can put my adhesive on that end, bring it right into the crease, even with the bottom of the card. And then I am going to put my adhesive on that piece, bring it right to the edge, and even with the bottom of the card. All right, so that's what that looks like. Okay, it's going to be easier if I take care of these two pieces right now. So what I'm going to do is I am going to be stamping the butterfly in the Timid Tiger, and I am going to just stamp that right there. And then in the Early Espresso ink, I'm going to be stamping this greeting that says, "I love that I've known you for so many birthdays." I love that. That's going to go right in the center of this piece of white. And I think I'd like to add one other thing, celebrating you. So let me just get that. And I'm going to add that on the back. I didn't put it in my sample, but I just was thinking I do want something back there. And I'm also going to use my Early Espresso ink. Hi, Lynn. Thanks for joining. There we go. All right. So let's start on the back. This is going to go right on the back of the card. Gives you a little bit more room to write what you want to write on the inside. And of course we could add more paper if we needed to. This one here, I would suggest if you're writing anything on it, you either do it right after you put it in or before you put it in, just because once we start adding the the coneflowers, it takes up a little bit of space that way, and will make it just a little more challenging. Oops, let's have this the right way. Okay, so there's our, got a little adhesive on that. Let's just rub that off. There we go. Now we can start putting in our papers. And I probably should put my green papers in first, but they're going to fit it fine. So I'm going to start with my Mossy Meadow paper. And it's going to go on this panel. So I'm going to line it up at the top and just press down. Like I said, I could have put these panels on first, but it's not that difficult to add them. So I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to line it up the way I want it at the bottom. And there we go. So we've got those two. Now we're going to put the floral image on. And there we go. Now we have our little pieces. So we have our two longer pieces that are going to go here, and our shorter pieces are going to go on those other four little sections. So here we go. I just really love how the Designer Series paper and the cardstock match so well. That's one of the really nice things about Stampin' Up and their product, is the product coordination. Okay, let's take a look at these. Okay, so these two are going to go right up here, they match, and these two are going to go right down there. So making a Z-fold card is not that difficult. You've seen me make them before. And of course making a double Z-fold is just one additional 1-inch strip. It's going to really give the card stability, and that is always nice. Okay, so now we've got the card built, and it's going to, first time you fold it, you've just got to help it fold the way you want it to fold. So there's our Z-fold. You're going to want these two pieces to go underneath, and so that's where it just, and this one's having a little bit of a issue. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we're ready to do some decorating. So let me just close this up. There we go. Put that aside. And I'm going to get out my pieces that I cut. So when you cut out the coneflower, you cut out two halves at the same time. They're connected, it's scored, and when you close it, it forms a coneflower that opens up, and you can give a message, put a message in it. So that's pretty cool. And you can add layers. I could stamp on this, cut it out, and have a stamped image on top of here. I can cut this apart and have two separate flowers. You're going to see me do that with the other one. And then I also have this piece that has some good detailed cut right into the paper. And we're going to use that detail in just a moment. So I'm going to be attaching that with my liquid adhesive. I'm just going to put some here and just a little bit on the petals. I don't want to glue down the entire piece. I want some of those petals loose. So I'm just going to line this up. There we go. And just press down the glue. Okay, on this one, so I'm going to have one that I'm going to stamp on the inside. And I want to have one that I just have one layer of the coneflower. So I'm going to cut it across to right where that score line is, cut off any of the extra, and now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put another layer on top of it, and I'm going to use my liquid glue. Got this is another one that I got from the Country Hive. It's a little bee. My friend Leslie got this beautiful sunflower. So just like a fun place to get your 3D printed things. So I'm doing the same thing, just putting a little of the liquid glue on, and I'm not gluing down the entire flower. There we go. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper, just because I don't want to have to wash all this ink up. And I'm going to take my classic stamping pad, the Timid Tiger, and I'm going to take a brush, a blending brush, and I'm just going to add, I want to highlight this. So I'm going to add a little ink to it, and then just start going over it. I want it darker towards the top of the flower, and then a little lighter as we go down. And I'll show you the difference between the two and how much, you know, it jumps out with that color on it. So I'm going to do the same to the other one. And I'm doing this before I put on the early espresso because I want to get the color in up to this area so that there won't be like an edge from where the top of the flower is. So again, I want the darker color towards the top of the flower, and then I'm going to be adding just a little bit more towards the bottom. Okay, perfect. Oh, and while I have the orange brush out, I don't really need to add any more ink. I'm just going to go on the inside of my butterfly, and I am going to add a little bit more ink because there's not enough. And that's just going to give a little color to the butterfly. Okay, so now I want to stamp in here before I go anywhere else. So I'm going to grab my Early Espresso ink pad again. And stamp It's Your Day on the inside. And now we're going to add the Early Espresso top of the flower. And again, I'm just going to add some adhesive right on the top of the flower. This has such nice texture from the dye as well. And I'm just going to place that on the flower. There we go. And now I'm going to take my ink of Stella. This is where we can have some fun. We can add some shimmer to our flower. So I'm going to just add, I'm going to color the entire top of the coneflower. And then I'm going to go down, and I just want to go over those cut lines on the petals. And you just get this beautifully shimmering effect on the coneflower. I'll show you what I mean. So there's the first one. Okay, while that one's drying, we'll do the other one. There's plenty on my brush, but since I pressed a little too hard when I was bringing some down, I'm trying to use up what's on my paper before it dries. And here's what our second one looks like with that shimmering. Okay, so now it's time to put this all together. So I want the piece that opens to be at the top, and so I'm going to want to turn the flower that way, and then the one at the bottom I'm going to turn this way. And what I have to be thinking about as I put these on my card is that when I pull it open, I want one flower, like I did over here, I want one flower to be on the left and one flower to be on the right. So I have to make sure when I attach each coneflower that I'm only attaching it to one side of the card. Okay? So for this one on the bottom, I want it attached here on this side. So I am just going to be putting my adhesive on that side of the flower. And when I put it down, I want to make sure I'm only attaching it to this side of the card. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same up here. I'm going to attach just this side of the little mini card to the left side of the card. I also have to be careful that I'm not going over the edge. I do have a little tiny bit of leeway on this side because this only measures 4. But I don't have any leeway at the top or the bottom. So I want to check that I've made sure that this is done correctly. So I'm just going to pull it open, and yes, that is perfect. And then because of these coneflowers, I just want to make sure everything, that we're not crushing our flowers. So there we go. Okay, now I can just put a little bit of bling on. And let's see, here's my bling right here. So I'm using the Tiny Bee trinkets because I thought they would go really well with it. I thought about the butterflies would go well too, but I haven't used these in a while. So what I have to do is, these are not self-adhesive. I have to add a little bit of liquid glue where I'd like them to go. So, and I don't need a lot. There we go. I'll give it a second to get just a little bit tacky, and I'm going to just grab some tweezers. I'm going to have the one on the paper flying towards the flower. So I'm just going to hold that down for a second. Thank you, Lynn. Lynn said that it is such a fun card, so I appreciate that. And then I'm going to add the other one right on the coneflower. The glue will dry clear, so I don't have to worry about that. And then I am going to put my last one up here. There we go. And that is our fun fold card for this week. And again, this is what it looks like when it's open. So we have it closed and open to make that double Z fold. All right, it's time to vote for next week's Fun Fold Friday. So I'm going to just move those out of the way. And I have 4 different sets that I'm going to put up for voting. The first one is Everyday Arches. I like this set because of the arch dies, and I think we can come up with a really good fold with this. It also has a birthday arch set that I could be using with this one if this one's voted in. The second one comes from last week's voting, the Gallery Blooms. Again, this has a really nice set of dies. It has this great frame that is very cool. All right. The third one is a set I haven't used with you yet, and it's the Notes and Totes. And it has some cool dies too. For instance, this cool tote. So we can make a really fun fold with this. And then the last one is kind of a fun set. You could make a baby card with it. You could make a card for a child, and it's called the Peekaboo Forest. And again, it has some fun dies that you could really have fun with when making a fun fold. So, your choices again. Everyday Arches, Gallery Blooms, Notes and Totes, and Peekaboo Forest. Let me know in the comments which set you would like to see next Friday night. Well, thank you for joining me. I will be back Sunday night for Simply Stamping Sunday. Tuesday is the last day of the month, so I will be going live Tuesday night for a Technique Tuesday. And then, of course, I'll be back next Friday night with whatever you vote for our Fun Fold Friday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you Sunday night. Good night, everybody.